Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sitting in my reselling room. As you can see, it's a mess, but I'm working on some big things at the moment. So I thought I'd clean it up for you guys, and then I realized, you know what, this is reality and it's just gonna stay like this. But the reason I am making a video today is to talk to you about why eBay is in my bad books at the moment and why I have lost the joy for reselling over the last couple of weeks. So I've actually got my laptop here today because I thought it might be easier to show you the timeline, show you, I guess, how I've reacted and responded and what the outcome is. So let's start from the top. So you might have seen from my previous videos that I acquired a few pairs of RM Williams boots. So these were actually through a retail arbitrage opportunity that I got, and I ended up buying, I think from memory, it was 5 pairs of boots. They all sold. I had one left, and this last pair is the cause of all my issues. So all of these boots I had up, I think, for about $450. My buy-in in each pair was about $180, so there's still a really good profit margin there. So I had sold the first 4 pairs and I ended up getting some offers on the last one, and I got to the point where I thought, I'm just going to accept it. It's the last pair, I've made some profit, and I'm going to move on from this purchase. So the last pair were a pair of chocolate brown suede boots. And I sold them for $350. They were going to the US and the postage was $67.15. And I sent these off on the 3rd of July. So we're going back about 3 weeks ago. They were delivered on the 13th of July. And the next day I received a iron ad from the buyer saying that the boots were not as described and they wanted to return them. So I actually woke up to the request for a return due to the iron ad, and I remember thinking, oh, I wonder what it is. Hopefully it's just something small. And unfortunately it wasn't. It was these boots, and I have never had an iron ad or a return internationally before. So I've been selling internationally for about 5 years. I've had a few queries, maybe a couple of partial refunds, if that, but I've never ever had to facilitate a return internationally before. So it was a first for me, and to be honest, it was a complete headache from the get-go. So when the buyer put in the iron ad, they'd actually taken photos of the same parts of the shoe that I'd photographed. So these boots are obviously man-made, and they do have imperfections. So these ones on the little wooden sole had like 1 or 2 nicks in them, very small. These boots were still in pretty pristine condition, and they'd taken a photo of them and said that they were defective. So I initially was very mad, and the reason I'm sharing this story with you now is because I'm still quite emotional about it, and I'm trying not to be emotional in my business, but it also is a normal human reaction. And I think it's important to show that, we all have reactions like this, and this was my reaction to this case. So initially I replied and said, those defects or, issues with the item were clearly documented and photographed, and I don't believe their iron ad was valid, and that I was happy to accept the return as long as they paid for the postage. I got a reply back going, please supply a return label. And I knew from eBay's perspective that they were going to side with the buyer like they always do. So I ended up accepting the return, and I did put out a post on Instagram asking if anyone had been through this. I was doing some research into how to provide a return label, and I quickly found out that I can't, and that I would have to refund the buyer once they provided evidence that they posted them. So I reached out to the buyer and said, it's an international return. I can't provide you a label from Australia. So can you please provide me a receipt that clearly shows the cost and the zip code, postcode that you're sending the item to, and your PayPal details, and I will send you the money for the return. So as soon as I set that message off, I just waited. I actually contacted eBay just to make sure that I was doing everything properly, given it was my first time. And I was assured that they could see my messages and they could see that I'd accepted it and that I'd contacted the buyer regarding the label, and there was nothing left for me to do. However, about, oh gosh, I reckon it was like 12 hours later, I got a notification that a case had been opened up against me for the item, and that they wanted a return label. So I got back onto chat with eBay and said, the same thing over again, that I couldn't provide a label. There's no way for me to do it. eBay couldn't provide one either. And they just wanted me to communicate the same thing again to the buyer. So I did. I got onto chat. I got onto messages to the buyer and said the same thing. I said, given that it's, I'm in Australia, I can't provide you a label. I've been in contact with eBay. This is what they've told me to do. And it ended up taking me 3 messages following up with the buyer until they said, okay, I will go to UPS today, I'll get a quote, I'll send them off and I'll let you know. So here I thought, oh, perfect. Okay, we're finally at the end of this stupid return. And I got back onto chat again on the day this case was supposed to be closed. My funds also are currently on hold. And I got assurance from them that the case would not be closed. They could see all the interactions that we'd had. There was no reason to close the case, and I was assured that it would not be closed in the buyer's favour and that the money will not be returned to them. While I was asleep that night, I got an email saying that the case had been closed and the buyer had been refunded money. So it didn't matter how many times I got onto eBay, made sure I was doing the right thing, and got assurance from them that I was doing the right thing and that the case would not be closed, it still got closed. So I ended up spending, I think, over an hour. This is while I was literally sitting outside of an op shop, an hour on eBay chat talking to them, airing my frustrations at the fact that I don't know what else I could have done in this situation to avoid this happening. And they could also not tell me anything along those lines either. They said that it'd been closed because I didn't provide them with a return label as they requested. Mind-boggling that they can't see the messages and can't use common sense in these situations. So yeah, an hour and a half later on chat, with me being very, very frank and abrupt, to be honest, I would probably say I was bordering on rude. I was so frustrated at this point. I'd spent hours on chat, hours trying to engage with the buyer, that they then decided to reverse the decision and they recredited my money back into my account. So this has been going on for over 3 weeks, this return, and it's finally closed. But I believe that the buyer has put in a false INAD. Whether or not they've had a regret in what they've purchased, or they know how to use the return system, I'm not too sure yet, but I think that the buyer had ulterior motives, just given the way they were communicating with me, the fact that it took them so long to reply, to agree, there was a lot of pushback. I think that they wanted the item for free, and that's exactly what ended up happening. So my frustration with eBay is the fact that they continue to let people get away with placing false INADs, not looking into them, because it was clear. It was clear from the photos that this buyer had provided that the photos were exactly the same. So my description was accurate, my photos were accurate, and they have just tried to get away with it. So at the end of the day, yes, I've not lost out on any sales or money, although my sales did tank after the return was accepted, which we all know is a real thing. But this buyer now has a $400 pair of boots and $400 cash. So I'm really, really annoyed with eBay that they don't police this stuff enough. I feel unsupported as a seller. The fact that I've gone through all these steps and tried to do the right thing, and tried to get support at every step, every time I've contacted them, which was 3 times over the 3 weeks that they assured me, and then they did the opposite thing. So I'm very annoyed at eBay. Is it going to stop me selling from the platform? Of course not. I have one of these issues every, year or two. They're not common, but I just think that the eBay processes are sometimes completely munted, to be honest. I don't understand how someone cannot see those photos or see the correspondence and then actually put actions into place to stop this experience occurring. So I think I've ranted enough, but I'm off. I'm off eBay at the moment. I'm trying to do work behind the scenes and just kind of keep, I guess, chugging along. This will pass. These emotions will pass. I'll have some good sales. I'll have some really good buyers. I'll have great customers, and I'll move on from this. I'll laugh about it, in a couple of weeks. But I just think that, eBay is going to be in my bad books for a while, and I think that they need to focus on supporting good sellers. I've still got 100% feedback rating, and I think I've only had 1 ever or 2 ever iNads before, and I'm more than happy to return, refund if I'm in the wrong. At no point have I ever held on to one of them or made it difficult for a buyer. If they find a hole or something turns up as it shouldn't, then sweet, like happy to help. But I think in these cases where buyers are deliberately trying to get items for free and hurt sellers' reputations, I just think needs to be managed by eBay. But anyway, I know the platform is bigger than my tiny little store, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about this whole situation. Do you think my emotions are valid? I know it's business, and like I said, I'll move on, but I'm pretty annoyed at the moment. Have you had anything similar happen to you? Had anyone rip you off? I've generally been really lucky that my buyers have been great, and I generally get great feedback. So I'm going to hang on to those comments and those feedback and move on with the new month. It's the 1st of August. Going to refresh, going to reset, and hopefully have a really good month of sales. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there because I feel like I've ranted a lot. But if you have any comments on buyer abuse or returns, insufficient iNads, please let me know. I'd love to bond with you over them. But if you haven't subscribed already, I'd really appreciate if you push that button and like this video if you didn't mind my rant. But I will be thrifting this week, so I'm hoping to film some of that for you, and hopefully I can find some good stuff. So I will see you on the next video. Bye.